Bullshit.
It's the No BS Marketing Show. I'm Dave Mastovich, CEO and founder of Massolutions, the world's only no bullshit marketing firm. We have an NBA champion. Last night, the Milwaukee Bucks defeated the Phoenix Suns in Game 6 of the NBA Finals, giving the Bucks their first NBA championship since 1971. The storylines coming into the finals were two main ones. The first being Chris Paul, the 36-year-old point guard for the Phoenix Suns, who has come so close many times and not been able to win it all, but is a Hall of Fame player, and some say the second or third greatest point guard of all time in the NBA. The other storyline was Giannis Antetokounmpo, the young buck, pun intended, who has come close, won the MVP a couple times of the league, and is the rising star and hadn't won it either. And of course, the city of Milwaukee not having the champion since 1971. Giannis and the Bucks came through to win, but that's not what this episode is about. This episode is about how we, as humans, love stories because we want to relate. So those two storylines that I told you had many of us relating to one of these two teams. And the same thing happens with the Super Bowl every year. It happens with any major sporting event. It happens in our movies, our TV shows, the music we listen to. We want to relate to the stories being told. You're not going to argue with that. Here's the thing. You consume that content based on the storylines, based on who you relate to. You want to cheer or root for someone and against someone else. Even in a series that you watch, a show that you watch again and again, you begin to look at the characters, the fake reality TV that's not really reality TV, but it's somewhat reality TV. When you watch whatever your favorite is, whether it's the Real Housewives or Big Brother or whatever, you begin to root for certain people and you root against other people because you relate to them. In your career, though, you often miss opportunities to tell your story about you and your company in the same way. I told you the storyline about Chris Paul, and I gave you a couple of nuggets. Told you the storyline about Giannis, and gave you a couple of nuggets. Many people can relate to those two stories, whether they're a basketball fan or a sports fan. The same can be said of the show you're watching on Netflix. The same can be said of that reality show that you're watching. It's how we learn. It's how we get motivated. The cognitive psychologists say that we begin to form stories in many of our interactions throughout our daily lives. Why wouldn't we take advantage of this in our career? Why wouldn't you take the time to build your authentic story based on one big idea and have supporting storytelling pillars, anecdotes, and analogies that help to convey the big parts of that story that all tie back to the common theme? The big idea answers two why questions. Your why or reason for being, for your company or you and your career and your job, and your customer's why or reason for buying. When you answer those two why questions, you begin to see there's some commonalities. So you then form that big idea of what your storytelling is going to be. Then you have the storytelling pillars to support that. Those are anecdotes, analogies, statistics, memorable quotes, things that get the word out there to tie back to that overarching theme. You can do this for any storytelling challenge you have, and trust me, most of our challenges in the workplace can be resolved through communication. And effective communication requires storytelling. And storytelling requires anecdotes and analogies. Storytelling requires a big idea for each situation. Storytelling requires supporting storytelling pillars, using anecdotes, analogies, quotes, stats to make the point. So throughout your day, your week, your month, and your quarter, throughout your year in the workplace, throughout your career, you have an opportunity. And that opportunity is to leverage the power of storytelling in the same way that all those sports leagues do, the same way that the networks do, the same way that Hollywood does, the same way that musicians do with music. In your personal life, you are continually gravitating towards people, towards characters, towards stories that are told in a compelling way. Yet in your career, you're barely scratching the surface when it comes to leveraging the power of storytelling. How do I know you're barely scratching the surface when some of my viewers and listeners I've never met? I've been at this a long time, and I get the chance to meet thousands of people across the country from all walks of life, all types of positions, and I hear them tell me how they do their storytelling now and how they don't do enough storytelling. I see it again and again. I also study the topic of storytelling, the behavioral science behind it, and I study what we've done as marketers, as storytellers, as people in this field. I see the statistics of how people absorb and consume content. And the reality is this: most people simply aren't maximizing storytelling in the workplace. Bosses aren't doing it enough for employees. Employees aren't doing it for each other, the team members. And your marketing team, your PR team, your sales team isn't leveraging the power of storytelling enough when reaching prospects and customers. It impacts the customer experience. And so I'm asking you today to commit to leverage the power of storytelling more in your career starting today, so you begin to tell stories in the same way that stories captivate you. So you can build stories to have customers, prospects, teammates root for you. You can have stories that have those same people relate to you, just like you related either to the Milwaukee Bucks or the Phoenix Suns, or in the NFL you related to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. We want that for your customers, your prospects, your teammates, your centers of influence. So commit today to better leverage the power of storytelling in your career. Thanks for listening to another episode of the No BS Marketing Show, recorded here in our studio in bold, beautiful downtown Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.